Hi, it's Crazy Monkey here again, another blog update. So we're basically in the month of October. It's late October, October 25th, 2017. So I want to give you a real update, real quick update. So me and my husband hopefully will be seeing houses in Ogden, Utah, North Salt Lake City, in probably about 2 weeks from now. We're going to Las Vegas in 2 weeks, and then we're going to take a 2-day trip up to Salt Lake City, Ogden, and hopefully we'll see some houses. Hopefully we'll place an offer on one of those houses so we can be moving out of the Seattle area around Christmas time, New Year's. Hopefully we'll be moving to Utah. And I just want to say real quick about Seattle, San Francisco, San Jose, all these big liberal leftist cities. It's a giant scam. It's a total scam. And I'm going to show you something about the hours Americans have to work to pay a mortgage payment. These are the people in LA, the amount of hours they have to work to pay the average LA mortgage payment, in just different cities. And it really shows you just what a con game, what a scam the big liberal leftist cities have become, where the housing prices are just astronomical. Because again, it's their socialist corporatist system that makes the house prices astronomical. The filthy rich liberal snobs do zone restrictions because they don't want development in their neighborhood. So that makes the house prices skyrocket because you can't add new inventory very quickly, because the liberal snobs don't want new construction in their neighborhood. They don't want skyscrapers in their neighborhood. And those liberal snobs make the housing prices skyrocket for the new people. It's really sick. And then you got poor people in the city centers that are demanding rent control. They're like screaming, rent control, rent control, rent control. The reality is rent control is the worst thing you can do. It makes it so people don't want to build apartment buildings because they know those units will be rent control. They don't want to build apartment units if they're going to be rent control. So what happens is landlords don't want to fix up units because they're rent control. They don't want to fix them. They don't want to build new units because of the rent control. Rent control is the worst thing you can do. It totally restricts supply of apartments, and it makes the rents for new people skyrocket. It makes the rents for new people skyrocket, and it's totally unjust and unfair too, because a lot of times you'll see rent control. You'll have some rich guy making like $250,000 a year in a rent control apartment in San Francisco, Manhattan, and then a new person's making like 50 grand a year, and they're gonna have to pay a higher rent than that guy making $250 because he's in a rent control unit. So he'll be making $250,000 a year, and his rent will be like $800, and meanwhile the new person has to pay like $2,000, and they're only making say $60,000 a year. So it's a really unjust system because the people that have been there the longest tend to make the most money, and they tend to benefit from the rent control the most. And then the new people, they tend to make the least money, and then they have to pay the highest rents because rent control makes the new rents for the new people skyrocket. Totally insane. It's totally crazy. It's like Robin Hood in reverse. It's actually taking money from the poor, giving it to the wealthier people. And when you look at cities, the whole city, Seattle, San Jose, San Francisco, all these big, huge liberal leftist cities, it's the same system. They do the same system in Stockholm, Sweden. They do the same system in all these different cities all over the world. Vancouver, Canada. I can go on and on. It's the same system. Here's what they do. Here's what they do to make the prices astronomical and make it totally unaffordable. They take, they allow filthy rich foreigners to buy up a lot of real estate. They allow filthy rich foreigners, this is London, all over the world, Vancouver, Seattle, LA, San Francisco, all over the world, these big globalist cities, they allow filthy rich foreigners to buy up massive, massive amounts of their real estate. So the filthy rich foreigners buy up massive amounts of the real estate. These are filthy rich foreigners worldwide. They buy up massive amounts of the real estate in these global cities, making the prices astronomical, so the average middle class person can't afford it. And then at the same time, they use massive immigration. They flood these cities with massive immigration to keep the wages low. So you see in a lot of these cities, the wages aren't really that great. Well, of course, because they use massive out-of-control immigration, flooding it into these cities to keep the wages low. So for the average middle class person, it's terrible because the housing and the rents skyrocket because the filthy rich foreigners are buying everything up, making the prices skyrocket. But then at the same time, they flood it with massive low-wage immigration, low-skill immigration to make the wages go down, or to make the wages not go up. It's terrible. It's literally a slave system. And then the housing costs keep going up because the snobby liberals won't do new development. You're just a total slave in these big cities, all right? You go into one of these cities like Seattle, here's what's going to happen to you. You're going to make $50,000 a year. You're going to be like $50,000 in college student debt. You're going to make like $50,000 a year. You're going to be $50,000 in debt. And you're going to be living in a micro studio. You're going to be living in a little 200 square foot, $1,000 a month apartment, micro studio. That's where you're going to be living. The entire system is set up as a corporatist, predominantly Democrat, socialist system where they get these people into these big cities. They're in massive college loan debt. And then because they're in massive debt, they have to have a job to pay the debt. Then the job, a lot of times they don't even get it in their field, so they have to get a lower pay job in different fields. It's like, say, $50,000 a year. And then the only apartments they can afford are these micro studios, these prison-style hell apartments. And then that's where they live, in these tiny little micro studios, never building wealth, never building middle-class wealth, never, building homeowner equity. Just wasting their lives away, flooding their money down the toilet in rent payments every year, never getting ahead. It's a total slave system. And then the traffic jams are terrible. These cities, Seattle, San Francisco, San Jose, the traffic jams are terrible. They'll bring in tech companies into the city center. They put the tech companies in the city center, creating massive traffic jams, and then the tech companies, they lobby to have massive immigration into these cities to keep the wages low, keep the wages down. Massive out-of-control immigration, and then that immigration coming into these cities like San Francisco, Seattle, San Jose, it makes the housing costs skyrocket, and it makes the rents go sky high, because the snobby liberals won't build that much new housing. So as you're flooding with all these people, and the new housing is not being built very much, then the prices go sky high. It's a total slave system, and then they get you on a Democrat slave plantation telling you they'll make your life better if you vote for the Democrat socialist politicians, and then what do? They'll say they'll give you free education. Okay, you get free education, then what happens? Everybody else got a free education too, and then the wages collapse. The wages are going to collapse. You're going to make less money because the boss is like, hey, I got 50 people with that free degree now, so their wages are going to be way less. So you're going to see your wages go down. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to vote for Democrat socialist politicians that say they're going to make child care free, thinking that will help you. Okay, you vote for the free child care, you vote for those Democrat socialist politicians, you get the free child care, and the next thing you know, your wages collapse, because now all these women flood into the workforce, and that makes the wages collapse. Because then you have all these new people applying for jobs, so the boss is like, hey, I got all these people applying for this job, I'm going to lower the wage, and then the wages go down. And then the next thing you do is you vote for some stupid rent control, and that just makes the rents go up over time. That just makes the rents go crazy, and it makes the apartments more scarce. You're actually voting against your interest. It's sick. And then the people at the top, they make all the money. So you have these socialist elites, these billionaire elites at the top, they make all the money. It's a total scam, it's a total con game. So like I was saying, I'll be living in Ogden, Utah real soon. I'm going to show you a clip on it in just a minute on the computer. I'm going to show you this thing about the hours Americans work to pay a mortgage, and then in part 2, I'm going to show you a clip about Ogden, Utah, and then I'll show you a traffic jam in Seattle. That's part 3. So just check this out, y'all. So this is an article real quick. Alright, finally. So it's CNBC, and this is the article. This is a great article to read. It's basically how many hours Americans have to work to pay a mortgage. As you can see on the West Coast, it's astronomical. Oakland, 83 hours. San Francisco, 107. Los Angeles, 112. Seattle, 73. Boston, 95. New York is low because the wages are high. It's actually really expensive in New York, but because the wages are so high, it makes it 50 hours for the average person to afford a mortgage payment. And then Miami, it's 109 because their situation is their houses are affordable, but the wages are ultra low. The wages are so low that it makes it unaffordable. So, and then middle America, it's really low. I mean, you got a lot of middle America cities, you only got to work like 26 hours, 17 hours, 25, 34 hours in these middle America cities. But then on the coast, where it's ultra leftist, ultra liberal, ultra socialist, you got to work like a slave, literally like 2 to 3 weeks just to afford a mortgage payment in these cities. This is the average person, and the average person in these cities, this is how many hours they got to work just to afford a mortgage payment. I mean, it's an utter joke, folks. It's an utter joke. I'm going to show you part 2 of the blog in just a second.